Words are the source of miscommunication. In order to create seamless and natural conversational experiences, we need to research what expectations our users have and how they communicate with conversational interfaces. And in this video, I'm gonna give you my top 5 tips on how to do user research for conversational interfaces. Coming up. Hey there, Olya here, helping you to go smoother and faster with conversational AI design and development. And in this channel, I'm sharing knowledge on conversational AI, doing tutorials on design and development. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. And my tip number 1, start with identifying use cases for voice and conversational interfaces. Researching for voice and conversational interfaces is very similar to the classical research of, for example, for graphical UI interfaces. While researching, we usually identify our potential users, their pain points, we're creating empathy maps and user journeys. But for conversational interfaces, it's much more crucial and much more important to start with identifying the use cases. Basically, we should identify the main use cases where voice or conversation should bring the value and should improve the user interactions. Some of the use cases are not appropriate for voice or conversational interfaces. Depending on what interface you're designing, gestures or tapping on screen or maybe using the TV remote control might be easier and faster and even more intuitive rather than using voice. For example, if you have a touch interface and you are trying to navigate with your fingers there, it's much easier to do it with your fingers rather than with voice by clicking just on the button rather than to say, go to the right, to the right, to the right, now click. And just like for any other interface, it's very important to do also contextual research. It might seem obvious to you, but I think that for conversational interfaces, it is even more crucial to observe people in the real context rather than doing some user studies in the lab, and to see how people are talking to voice assistants at home versus just like observing them at the lab. And I think it's even more crucial for voice interfaces to do that, because I observed several times the situations when the users during the user testings spoke a little bit unnaturally to the voice assistants, and I never saw such commands in the statistics or in the user data. And my tip number 3, you should definitely combine the qualitative and quantitative research methods. Qualitative and qualitative methods are both very important, and none of them should be ignored. I heard a lot of times from some team members who were for example, developers who were saying that, oh, you've done a qualitative research, but there were like only 6 participants, and the number of these participants is not significant. It only seems that 6 people is not a significant number, but for getting qualitative insights, we need to do also qualitative research, because we can talk to people and we can get the direct feedback right away from our direct users. And we can always ask questions and dig a little bit deeper. So basically it's about a deep research. I also know that some designers are ignoring a quantitative research, basically analyzing the user data after the launch. This is very important as well, because the user data can deliver a very insightful statistics about the frequency of the used or non-used utterances, about the abortion rate. And my tip number 4, avoid priming. Of course, it's very obvious that while doing a research, while doing user testings, and it doesn't matter if you're doing some surveys or preparing some scenarios for the interviews, in each case you should avoid priming. So just try to avoid words or sentences that would prime your user. And if you're really stuck, then try to reformulate your sentences and maybe try to give some examples. And my tip number 5, use some graphical medium. For example, use videos or photos or animations. So for example, you just can show your videos or show some pictures and just ask how the user would trigger, for example, this or that action. And of course, during the user research and user testings for conversational interfaces, it is even more important to let your users speak. Question of the day: what tips on research do you have? I'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video so far, just drop a like and subscribe for more videos just like that. See you next time. Until then, keep on rocking.